Welcome back to the Rundown Podcast. My name is Abe Higgs, joined by my main man, Dylan Kearns. We are back better than ever. The postseason baseball, it's right around the corner. I believe teams have like 5 games left, 2 more series to go. And then boom, it's what we all been waiting for as baseball fans. Postseason October baseball is almost here. We got a lot of topics for you today. But first off, Dylan, how you doing?
Doing good. This is the time of year where it gets interesting because usually after the All-Star break, fans are like, all right, that was fun. And then they kind of take a nap, I'd say. Take a nap during the season throughout the month of August. No one really – you really got to love baseball to sit there through August as well.
Dog days of August.
Yeah, dog days – that's exactly why they call it. And then September, teams, you're starting to look at who's going to be good. Like – you're checking out the races, you're checking out award races, you're checking out postseason standings. And if your team's out of it, maybe that's another month you sleep through and you just look forward to next year. So lots to look to when it comes to all these certain teams. But this is the time where wins become losses, as the cliche says.
No, you're definitely correct. And we're going to speak about some teams that have been winning and some teams that have been losing in the stretch here that can affect their playoff race. But first off, we're going to talk about a team that's been on fire lately, and that team is out of Detroit. The Detroit Tigers have been on a roll lately. This Tigers team has been balling, 36-24 records since the All-Star break. I believe they're second in the division currently, and obviously led by their stellar pitching and future Cy Young winner, who I predicted, Tarik Skubal. Dylan, what do you make so far of the resurgence of the Detroit Tigers?
I look at the Tigers and I think of one thing. It's A.J. Hinch. He's the manager. He's the pulse of that organization. And, this is why you went out and hired someone like him. I know he had the scandal with everything that transpired with the Astros sign stealing while he was at the helm. But this is exactly why you bring in an A.J. Hinch. And I know he's been there a couple of years. But it's for these moments right here. He saw an opportunity where, hey, a division's in reach, or not necessarily a division, a postseason spot is in reach. And he went for it. They're playing great baseball. I said the Twins would collapse. I was spot on with that. The Tigers, maybe you didn't see it coming. This is a team that offensively looked pretty bad through many parts of the season, but they finally turned it around. They look they're finally getting hits at the right times, and their pitching, to your credit, has been all over the place. Like, just fantastic start after start. You're getting performances out of guys you wouldn't expect. Now they call up a Jackson Jobe, who will be very interesting to watch if they get into the postseason. A young arm, a top pick for them just a year ago. So I think a lot to look forward to with this Tigers organization. And Skubal, this is why you don't trade him, Abe. He's riding his Cy Young award all the way into the playoffs. So playoff baseball at Comerica is going to be exciting.
No, you're definitely right. And just to echo on your point about Skubal, yes, the Detroit Tigers made the right decision trading him, and the Orioles made the wrong decision by not trading for him. Two things to be right at the same time. And obviously, Tarik Skubal has gotten a lot of attention so far this year, deservingly so. But just like you, I want to talk about A.J. Hinch. Hinch has seen the ultimate lows with the Tigers, just like he saw the lows with the Houston Astros. His experience and buy-in from a very young team has gotten the Tigers in the playoff push. He got the Astros to multiple World Series appearances. He had some help, but nevertheless, he got the Houston Astros to 2 World Series. I don't see this team making a deep playoff push, talking about Detroit here, because I don't believe that offense can generate enough runs, and they don't slug. But with that pitching, they're never out of a game. And we've seen crazy stuff happen in October before.
Yeah, we have. And, this is Tigers team, man. They're resilient. That's another thing. Once Baez goes down, they turn it on. They're like, all right, he's out of here. Let's go. So they've turned it on. And maybe, maybe this is maybe you move forward from Baez and just eat that money. I know he's a performer, but he looks completely off when it comes to what he can bring to this team. He was just an all-star, looked fantastic in Chicago, was on very good postseason teams and shined in postseason moments for the Cubs. But now that he's out of the mix, it's almost like they're playing better. So there's a lot in terms of what this team can bring. I'm very excited with Wenzel Perez is playing good in the outfield. Riley Green. I saw a comp on MLB Network that compared him to David Justice, and I think that's a very good comp. Left-handed hitter, has power. I think he could come up with a couple hits as well in the postseason. So this Tigers team, they're getting contributions. They have a lot of youth in that team as well. You mentioned, Young's on the team. You have Colt Keith on the team. So there's a lot of young players that they can build around. But it's also good to give them a potential postseason experience. So they're on fire, 9-1 in their last 10. So they're playing great ball.
You know what's crazy to me is I just think of all the Detroit Tigers fans. I mean, they haven't had much to cheer about over the past decade. The last postseason experience was 2014, 10 years ago. This is what a great time it is to be a Detroit sports fan. And the Lions, were fourth down away from making it to a Super Bowl last year. The Tigers on fire and making a postseason push here. It's a good time to be a Detroit sports fan.
Let me say this too, and I hope this doesn't happen. Last year, towards the end of the NHL season, the Red Wings were like one game away from making the playoffs, and they showed fight towards the end of the season, very similar to how the Tigers are doing right now. So I hope this isn't deja vu for the Tigers fans. And if you're a Detroit sports fan watching this, you'll know exactly what I'm talking about. They had some unfortunate luck. They even won the last game they needed to, the Red Wings did, and they still couldn't get in the playoffs. So hopefully this isn't the same case for the Tigers. They can kind of control their own destiny as long as they keep winning baseball games here. But yeah, to your credit, it's been a city that has struggled mightily in many sports throughout their franchise's history. But now they're starting to turn it on. The Lions are solid. The Tigers are making a postseason push, and the Red Wings are now a favorite for the playoffs in hockey. So a lot's going on here for the Tigers and then Detroit, but not the Pistons.
The Pistons have a lot of catching up to do. But we're definitely going to clip this and post this for all of our Detroit sports fans, show you guys some love. But transitioning from a team in the AL that has been on fire to some players, matter of fact, some rookies that have been otherworldly in the NL. I mean, there has been a lot of talk about the NL Rookie of the Year lately. Paul Skeens has caught all the news headlines this season, but a lot of baseball fans have said, hold up, there's a kid out of San Diego that has been just as good, if not better than Paul Skeens. And I'm talking about Jackson Merrill. With all that being said, which side of the NL Rookie of the Year coin are you on?
It's a no-brainer for me. It's an absolute no-brainer. Jackson Merrill's your pick here. Like, what are you talking about? Like this, I know he doesn't get the credit, but look at his numbers, Abe. 292 average.
I had to pull my screen up because that caught me by surprise. I didn't know you were going here.
Absolutely, Merrill.
I'm not mad at the take.
Here's why. Okay, here's why I'm going Jackson Merrill. 292 average, 24 homers. 292 and 24, 16 bags. Here's the kicker. He's playing out of position. He never played in the outfield in the minors. So the Padres saw this opportunity. Now, we talked about it in our preseason show. Look, like this was around spring training. They didn't have any outfielders in camp. They signed Profar late. They didn't have a center fielder. They're like, all right, we have a good shortstop. Let's make him a center fielder. Tatis was hurt. Like there were a lot of moving parts to this Padres team to start the year. They had to bring David Peralta in, who got cut by the Cubs. Like they needed pieces to this team to fill their outfield spots. Profar's been outstanding, but Jackson Merrill is the reason the Padres are where they are right now. 292, I mentioned, 89 RBIs as a rookie. Are you kidding me? He's out of position. He's been the life and blood of that team, and he's been there consistently. 541 at-bats. He doesn't take a day off. He plays every freaking day, and he's out there in center, and he's looking good in center too. So he looks like a plus defender.
Yeah, I can
disagree. Never played.
Yeah, I can't disagree with anything you pointed there. And I think the world of Jackson Merrill, we highlighted him in our preseason shows. We knew coming into the season that the Padres lacked depth in their outfield, and Merrill has filled that role tremendously. He's having a great season, 24 bombs, 89 RBIs, batting 292 as a rookie. But with that being said, Paul Skeens is the Rookie of the Year. If he had enough qualified innings, he would be the Cy Young winner. He leads the league in ERA 1.99, leads the league in WHIP at 0.96. He's not just leading rookies or the NL in these categories. He's leading all of baseball in these categories. What rookie has came into baseball their first year and lived up to enormous hype and expectations? The last one I can think of, Steven Strasburg. Paul Skeens has lived up to all of the hype. He was the NL starter in an all-star game as a rookie. That's just insane. Yes, the discussion of the NL Rookie of the Year is closer now than what it was. But I think it's clear that it's Paul Skeens.
Can we throw another thing out there? What? This is crazy because technically you have 3 Rookie of the Years. What about Shota Imanaga?
Yeah, he doesn't get enough love though.
I know he doesn't get enough. He doesn't get enough love. Like he hasn't been. Like he has been elite, like a top-notch starting pitcher this year for the Cubs. But he's not even going to come close. I think any other year, Imanaga, who's 3rd on this list, would win the award.
Yeah. And I not discrediting anything from Jackson Merrill, or I'm sure from your standpoint, discrediting anything from Paul Skeens. We've had a really good Rookie of the Year race so far, and especially in the NL. Skeens has been lights out. I think just the idea of him living up to the hype, which is so hard to do in today's generation against these level of hitters, and absolutely dominating as a rookie, that is so impressive to me. But also with Jackson Merrill stepping in, playing a position he never played in the minors and excelling at that. You know how hard. I don't know how much harder it is to hit MLB pitching. Absolutely insane.
Here's why I think Merrill will win the award. And I hate that MLB does this. They do it all the time. What about your team? What are they doing for their team?
Yeah.
You know? And I see Jackson Merrill as a key component on why the Padres are where they are, which could still win the NL West over the powerful Padres. And
you're right.
I mean, he's been there since day one, and that's the thing holding Skeens back. It wasn't against Skeens at all. Like, he couldn't control where he started the year. It's not his fault he was pitching in front of 10 people at Victory Field for April and May of where he was at in AAA. He can't help he's playing for the Indianapolis Indians, but I mean, here he is now. He's at the big league level, a sub-2 ERA in his rookie year with 22 starts. Those are impressive numbers. I'm not discrediting anything Skeens has, but Jackson Merrill's contribution to the Padres, I mean, that's exactly what a Rookie of the Year is. Skeens is just taking the ball for a deadbeat club. Merrill is shining, hitting walk-off shots, like walk-off hits, big clutch situations. This rookie is stepping up, and they're trusting him to do it too. He's in the middle of that order, making play after play in the outfield, stealing bags, getting on base, hitting home runs. I mean, he's literally a Corbin Carroll of last year.
Yeah, you cannot go wrong with either of these guys. Take your pick. I mean, these are 2 solid players who are going to have huge impact on their clubs in the future, for Merrill in the postseason, for sure. But we're going to move on to a team that is on the cusp of a postseason in the NL. The Arizona Diamondbacks. They have been really struggling lately. I said a few weeks ago about the D-backs being a postseason dark horse, man, but their pitching had to improve. It just had.
Yeah, they're not good. They're not good. They've lost 3 in a row. The Braves have won 3 in a row. So do the math. The Braves are now a half game out of that final wild card spot. And that's something that, going forward, this is a problem. There's only 4 or 5 games left. And you're looking at this ahead of you, and the Cubs are eliminated, so there's no one else there. They're 4 teams battling for 3 spots. The Padres are locked in; they already clinched. The Mets, I mean, I guess they could still collapse. They're playing the Braves, so they still have a couple games left in that series. If the Braves win 2, if the Braves sweep, Braves are in the playoffs, and the Mets are now fighting with the D-backs, who are struggling, as we mentioned. So I don't know, like, their pitching has struggled. We talked about Corbin Carroll playing better of late. But this Diamondbacks team, this was last year. This is where they turned it on to get into their postseason run, and now it's like late in the year they're starting to struggle. So it's hard to see. Another team struggling in the AL. I know we're kind of off script here, but the Royals could be in the dead spot there as well. But yeah, going back to that, D-backs, they're struggling. They may lose out on a playoff spot due to this last week surge that they've had in the opposite direction.
Yeah, we mentioned the D-backs in their pitching. They have the fourth worst ERA and has given up the fourth most runs in all of baseball. They have the second worst opponent batting average in baseball. Ryan Nelson, Eduardo Rodriguez, Ryan Thompson, Joe Mantiply, Jordan Montgomery. I mean, these are all guys the D-backs have been relying on this season, and they've all been disappointing lately. I mean, the whole bullpen has been bad. You can't win games in the postseason if you can't close games, especially in October. If they make the final wild card spot, yes, that offense is darn good. But when they run into a pitching staff in the postseason, they're handcuffed because their pitching can't stop a running nose.
Yeah, that's a problem. It's a serious problem. Looking at the D-backs, this was, like we said last year, this is where they turned it on. Now it's the opposite direction, and I think that a part of this is the Padres surge. Like the Padres have been on the rise, and the D-backs have sort of fallen off. So I think it's a credit to how potent that team's been. I'm very high on the Padres. I think they're in the World Series. But anyway, I think the D-backs are falling off. This is a rough stretch for them. And I talked about the Braves making a climb. I don't wish bad upon anybody. I didn't wish for the Diamondbacks to collapse, but we sat here and we had our take just the last time we did our show in the last episode. And we said, who do we believe? I believed hard on the Braves. You believed hard on the D-backs. And now we're still fighting for that spot between those two. And it could be the Mets that end up getting the shaft here. But I think the Braves going forward still look pretty solid where they stack up, and getting them in the playoffs, even as a wild card, that could cause some havoc. I like them against the Brewers very easily in that series.
Yeah, so we're gonna find this. We're gonna find out who gets in within the next week. Sticking along the lines of wild card teams, who is the wild card sleeper? Whether the AL or NL, and Dylan, from what you've been throwing out there, I think I can take a good guess on who your wild card sleeper is.
I don't feel like they're necessarily a sleeper. Now, They would have been a long time ago, but I remember texting you like in July, and I said, hey, I just put $5 on the Padres to win the World Series. I believed in this team. I believed in the San Diego Padres from the start, because you look at their rotation. They have great pitching. The trade for Luis Arias set them over the top. That was the one thing they needed. They needed someone to get on base. He's been putting balls in play. You have great performance out of the rookie Merrill, and then you have your veterans. Manny Machado, who's been in the limelight. He's been in the postseason in big moments for the Dodgers. And then you look at Fernando Tatis, who is, he looks fantastic right now as well. So those are your veterans. Those are moving the pieces as well. And then you have an all-star year out of Jurickson Profar, who's making plays in the outfield and getting on base and showcasing his power as well. So you have someone that gets on base in Luis Arias, a table setter. You have a rookie Merrill who does a little bit of everything. You have the veterans with power, Machado, Tatis. You put it all together. You have a great bullpen there as well. So they're finding ways to really piece it all together. I wouldn't be shocked if they win the NL West. I know it's still kind of a dogfight for them to get to there, but I'm a whole throttle believer here in the San Diego Padres. I don't know if they'll win the World Series, but I will I'll put so much faith in the Padres of being in that big game.
Wow. So they're currently 2 games behind the Dodgers NL West. So it is a lot closer than what I originally thought. And so your wildcard team that you're clearly banking on, San Diego Padres. And for me, I'm right there with you. I like the Padres. The core guys on their roster, they know what it's like to chase pennants in World Series. You mentioned it. Manny Machado, Fernando Tatis, Xander Bogaerts. We expect those guys to show up, and they have. But what I want to highlight is that supporting cast. Jurickson Profar, former number 1 overall prospect, remember, has had a down career, but ever since being with the Padres, he's had a resurgence. 24 bombs, batting 285. Jackson Merrill is balling. Luis Arias, you mentioned him as well, whose play style works perfectly in the postseason. He puts the ball in play and he doesn't strike out. You know he only has 17 strikeouts this year. Like what? That's insane. The Padres, literally 17 strikeouts. So the Padres will be a problem. Let me also ask you something. They play the Dodgers in the postseason. Who has more pressure?
Dodgers, 100% Dodgers.
Clearly the Dodgers. And the Padres will be without money. Dylan, also listen to this. They are 40-17 since the All-Star break. They are scorching hot. And the Padres are the last team NL clubs want to see in October.
Yeah. And you know, I have a temporary bracket pulled up right now. And I'd like to get before we get out of here, I'd like to know an AL sleeper for you out of the few that we have there.
Okay.
But you know, I have the bracket pulled up here. There's a lot of looking ahead right here with this bracket. So the Padres right now would play the Mets. I like the Padres. Then they'd play the Dodgers, divisional opponent. That's a scrappy fight. They'd get to the NLCS, and then in the other one, it's D-backs Brewers. That's a toss-up. Then you got I think I'd take the Brewers. Brewers, Phillies. They got good pitching. I think it'd be the Phillies. But then you can see a path. It's going to be hard for the Padres to get to that World Series. But I think with the way they're playing, they're in great shape. So a lot to go there with the Padres. I'm a big fan. I think that they're battle tested right now, and they're finding ways to win baseball games.
For sure. Now for the AL, looking at it right now, it's Orioles. You expect the Yankees to win the AL East. They're up by 5 games. So I think that's pretty in the box right now.
Orioles, Royals, Tigers is basically set.
Right. The Twins, 2 games behind. I don't see it happening unless the Royals absolutely collapse. I'm going to go with the Tigers. And the main reason why is because of AJ Hinch. I like that he has the pedigree and history. Say what you want, what happened to Houston. Even after the whole cheating scandal in 2017, they went back to a World Series. They go back to ALCSs. That's what he's done. He's used to creating a winning atmosphere. And I know I mentioned that their hitting is not the best right now, but if you can get production out of Riley Green, out of some of those guys you named earlier, Colt Keith, who knows what can happen in October. So I like the Tigers have AJ Hinch, and talk about a sleeper, man, the Tigers. And with that pitching, even that bullpen has been lights out in Detroit. I'm feeling really good about the Detroit Tigers.
I think the Yankees can sleepwalk their way to the CS. Because looking at their bracket, it's Royals, Orioles. Winner plays the Yankees.
Yeah,
that's very easy.
The Yankee season will come down to versus Houston. If you know how gladly they will cheer if they don't got to see Houston in the LCS.
What if Cleveland does it, man?
What?
What if Cleveland does it? They have the home bye.
They're not worried about Cleveland.
No, I'm saying, what if Cleveland beats the Astros?
I don't expect it to happen, but I'm saying from a Yankees fan, you want to see Cleveland. You do not want to walk through the terror, the house of terror that is called Minute Maid. You do not want to go in there and try and win ball games in October. But yeah, you're right. Cleveland could. You never know. That's the best thing about October. You just don't know.
It's awesome. That's why we love baseball.
Yeah.
That's exactly why we love baseball.
Yes, sir. All right. We can save this for next time. But yeah, that's pretty much all we have for you today. I guess you can say it's our precursor to our postseason show that will be coming next week. We appreciate all the support. Go subscribe, like all our content. We will have stuff on YouTube, TikTok, Instagram for the remainder of the season and even the off season. So go take a look at us, subscribe, like, and appreciate all the support. Till next time, see you guys.